I never planned to attend my own funeral, but there I was, back pew, hood up, hands shaking, while the storm outside drummed on the old church roof like a clock that wanted me gone. They said I died on a Thursday. They said my body was too damaged to view. Convenient. The thing about grief is, it turns lies into lullabies. If you sing them softly enough, people stop asking questions. I should have stayed dead. It would have been easier. But when I heard my mother's voice break on the words, "He didn't deserve the truth," I knew this funeral wasn't about goodbye. It was a cover. For what? That's what I came to find out. When I woke up that morning, the world already felt wrong. Too quiet, too heavy, like it was holding its breath. The rain hadn't stopped all night. Thin, whispering rain that clung to the window pane and blurred the world outside. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the clock. 7:17 a.m., the same number that had haunted me for weeks, flashing on receipts, license plates, even the microwave timer. Maybe that's why I opened the email. It came from an address I didn't recognize, obituariesredfieldchapel.com. Subject line, "Funeral service for Ethan Cole, October 23rd, 2 p.m. At first, I laughed. That nervous, brittle laugh that escapes only when the world tilts sideways. A scam, I thought. A cruel joke. But then I clicked the attachment. A funeral notice. My full name, my date of birth, and a single, chilling line. "In loving memory of Ethan Cole, beloved son and friend, gone too soon." My throat went dry. The photo they used, it wasn't random, it was mine, a candid from my sister's wedding. Then I saw the chapel's address. Redfield, my hometown, 3 hours away. The service, today. By noon, I was in my car, driving through the rain. The wipers kept time like a metronome for my heartbeat. I told myself I'd laugh about this later, that I'd find whoever was behind it and call them out. But beneath the anger was something colder, something that whispered, what if it isn't a mistake? I hadn't spoken to anyone in Redfield in months, not since Mom died, not since I left behind the house, the memories, the guilt. When I arrived, the parking lot was half full. Black umbrellas dotted the pavement like morning flowers, and through the open chapel doors I saw them. People I knew, my old neighbor, my high school teacher, even Clara, my sister. She was standing near the front, shoulders shaking as someone held her. She was crying, for me. I froze at the door. The air smelled of lilies and old wood, the kind of scent that sticks to your clothes long after you leave. Someone brushed past me, muttering condolences, not even looking twice. I stepped inside. My footsteps echoed in the aisle like intrusions in someone else's dream, and then I saw it. The coffin, dark mahogany, closed. My name carved into the brass plate. Ethan Cole, 1989, 2023. My pulse roared in my ears. At the front, the pastor's voice trembled. "We gather today to honor a man who left this world far too soon." His words blurred as I stared at the photo on the stand. The same one from the email. I should have left. I should have screamed, called the police, something. But I didn't. Because at that moment, my eyes met someone else's. A man sitting in the back row. Older, familiar. When he lifted his gaze, my stomach twisted. It was me. Same eyes, same scar above the eyebrow, same face. He smiled, just slightly, then turned back toward the coffin, like nothing had happened. For a few seconds I couldn't breathe. The air in that chapel turned to glass, sharp, brittle, ready to shatter. I blinked, hoping it was a trick of the light, a reflection in the polished coffin lid. But no, he was still there. Same face, same hairline, same scar from when I fell off my bike at age 10. My hands trembled. I wanted to shout, to demand an explanation, but no sound came out. Instead, I sat down, back row, hood up, invisible among the living who mourned me. The service blurred together. Hymns I half remembered, condolences whispered like static. but my eyes never left him. He didn't cry, didn't move, didn't flinch when Clara spoke. "Ethan was more than my brother," she said, voice cracking. "He was my best friend. He was always looking for the truth, even when it hurt." That hit me harder than I expected, because I had always chased truth, through journalism, through obsession, even when it tore my life apart. But what if truth was chasing me now? When the ceremony ended, the crowd drifted outside under umbrellas. I stayed behind, waiting, watching. And then he stood, walked toward the exit. Calm, deliberate steps, like he wasn't hiding at all. I followed. Outside, the rain had softened into mist. The man, my mirror, crossed the lot and stopped by a black sedan. "Hey!" I shouted. He froze, turned. Up close, the resemblance was even worse, like staring into a photograph that decided to move. He smiled again, faint but knowing. Then he said something that chilled me more than the rain. "You weren't supposed to come back, Ethan." My stomach dropped. Before I could speak, he got in the car and drove away. The next thing I remember is standing in front of the coffin again. Everyone else was gone. I looked at the polished lid and saw my reflection, distorted, fractured. I lifted the latch. It was locked, of course it was. But taped to the side, barely visible beneath the flowers, was a small white envelope. My name, in my mother's handwriting. Hands shaking, I tore it open. Inside, one sentence. "If you're reading this, it means they know." No signature, just a date written underneath. October 24th, tomorrow. I drove to my mother's old house that night. The place had been empty since she passed, but I still had a key. Inside, everything was exactly as she'd left it. Her glasses on the counter, a half-finished crossword, dust everywhere. I sat at the table and stared at the note. They know. Who were they? And how the hell could anyone fake my death? I opened my laptop and started digging. Search after search. Ethan Cole obituary. Redfield Chapel service. Death records. It was all there. Articles, tributes, even a statement from the local paper confirming I died in a car accident 2 weeks ago. My supposed car, crushed, burned, found off the highway. Dental records confirmed the identity, except my teeth weren't in that car. Around midnight I heard something, a soft thump upstairs, then another. I grabbed the flashlight from the drawer and climbed the creaking steps. The sound led me to my old room. Everything was as I left it. Posters, dusty books, the bed unmade. But the window was open, curtains fluttering in the wind. And there, on the desk, lay something I hadn't seen in years. A cassette tape, old black plastic. Label faded, but the writing was still visible. For Ethan, don't listen alone. I didn't have a player, but I remembered Dad kept one in the attic. The stairs groaned under my weight as I climbed up. The air smelled of mothballs and secrets. I found the tape deck buried under a box of Christmas lights. Plugged it in. The tape clicked into place. At first only static, then a man's voice, low, controlled. "If you're hearing this, it means they failed." My breath hitched. That voice, it was my father's. "You were never supposed to find this, Ethan. You were never supposed to see yourself die. They told me this would keep you safe, but they lied. They always lie." The static grew louder. "They've been watching us since Redfield, since the fire. Don't trust anyone who looks like you, especially not him." The tape stopped. My hands were shaking so badly the flashlight slipped and clattered to the floor. When I bent to pick it up, I saw movement in the attic window, a silhouette, standing outside, watching. He smiled. I ran downstairs, burst out the front door, but the yard was empty, only the sound of rain and the echo of my heartbeat. Morning came like an accusation. I hadn't slept. I'd sat at the kitchen table all night with the tape deck in front of me and my father's voice ghosting the room. "Don't trust anyone who looks like you, especially not him." I drove back to town. I didn't have a plan, just a list of places where the truth might be hiding. The chapel, the registrar's office, the police station. At the town hall, I signed my name in the visitor's book without thinking. The receptionist glanced at it, then at me. For a breathless second, I thought she'd scream. But she didn't. She just slid a form under the glass. The woman at the records window was efficient in a way that made me feel like she wasn't real. She took my request, death certificate, case file, anything attached to Ethan Cole, and disappeared into the stacks. When she returned, she set a thin manila folder on the counter. Inside, a printed obituary, a police incident report, the coroner's certificate, a grainy photograph of a burned-out car. The signature at the bottom of the certificate stopped my heart. Dr. Raymond Sutter, County Medical Examiner. I knew that name. He used to eat at our kitchen table. He'd brought us apple pies on holidays when Mum was sick. He'd cried at her funeral. The incident report said the vehicle had been identified through a wedding band engraved EC+AC, a leather wallet with a scorched ID, one tooth with a gold inlay that matched dental records for Ethan Cole. Except I had never had a gold inlay. I'd thought about it once, after a fracture, but insurance hadn't covered it. False tooth. Or worse, a true tooth taken from a true mouth, planted like a flag. I photocopied everything and left. At the police station, the duty officer recognized me from high school. He made a face like he'd bitten something sour, then smoothed it down into pity. "Rough week for everyone," he said. "Yeah," I said. "Rough." He let me see the accident log. I memorized the tow yard where the wreckage had been taken, the timestamp, the coordinates. When I stepped back outside, I drove to the tow yard. The wreck was still there, a husk of metal, glass melted into jewels along the edges. The manager was a barrel of a man with a kind voice. "You the brother?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, because it made everything easier. He lifted the tarp. I touched the door. It felt like a cooked seashell. I imagined my body inside it. I imagined someone else's. "Strange thing," the manager said. "Usually you can smell, but this one..." He shrugged. "Paperwork's in order, though." On the drive back, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I let it ring out. It rang again. I answered. "You shouldn't be calling attention to yourself," a voice said. Calm. Male, faintly amused. "Who is this?" "A friend." "I don't have any of those." "Not anymore." Wind pushed through the speaker. "Meet me at the place your mother hated." He hung up. My mother had hated the river footbridge. She'd said the slats were loose, that the black water under it wanted to swallow boys who ran too fast. I'd fallen from it once and cracked my head on a rock. That's how I'd gotten the scar over my eyebrow. I parked by the trailhead and walked in. The trees were wet and humming. Water thrummed against pylons. On the bridge, a man leaned against the railing with his hood up. When he turned, my stomach climbed into my throat. It was him, my reflection, the man from the back pew. "You told me I wasn't supposed to come back," I said. "Who are you?" He smiled slightly. "Names are slippery, faces too." "You're wearing mine." He tilted his head, studying me as if I were the invention. "Maybe you're wearing mine." The river roared beneath us. I tightened my grip on the railing. "What is this?" I asked. "Who paid for it?" He looked past me toward the trees. "You always ask the wrong question first." "Then what's the right one?" "How much of your life do you want to keep?" I kept my voice low. "Tell me why there was another body in that car. You think it was an accident there were two?" He laughed softly. "Nothing about you is an accident." "Who was he?" "A man who kept a promise," he said, and something like sadness brushed his face. "You're not the only one who owed the truth a debt." He stepped closer. "Go home, Ethan. Burn the tape. Forget the chapel. If you leave now, you can still live a small, happy life." "You mean an obedient one?" He didn't deny it. I took a breath. Who are they? His eyes sharpened. You think your father's secrets died with him? Do what he couldn't, walk away. I won't. Then you will learn the cost of a bigger truth. He glanced past my shoulder. For a second, fear slid across his face. It wasn't me he feared. It was something coming. He backed away. Don't go back to the church, he said. If you do, you'll see something you can't unsee. Then he melted into the trees, quiet as fog. I stood there with the river shouting up at me. I thought about his warning, don't go back to the church. So I went back to the church. The chapel felt different in daylight. The lilies had started to brown at the edges. The air had the faint chemical sweetness of things pretending not to rot. The main doors were locked, but the side entrance surrendered to a firm hand. My coffin stood near the front, flanked by flowers. I moved toward it, heart loud and disciplined. In the vestry, I found a ring of keys. I tried 3 before one turned and the hinge sighed. I lifted the lid. The man inside wore my suit. He had my hair, my brow, the ghost of stubble along a jawline I shaved every other day. Something white peeked from beneath the right lapel, a photograph tucked into the fold like a pressed flower. I slid it out. My hands began to shake. It was a candid shot, slightly tilted. I stood near the river footbridge wearing this exact suit. My head was turned towards someone out of frame. I was smiling a smile I didn't recognize. Along the bottom, a digital timestamp glowed red. 11:06, 9:17 p.m. 2 weeks after the day I supposedly died. I let out a breath that wasn't a word. I looked back at the man in the coffin. For the first time, I knew, like you know your own handwriting, that he wasn't me. The chapel door creaked behind me. I snapped the lid down, the lock catching. I slid the photograph into my jacket and turned. The aisle was empty. Hello? My voice sounded wrong in the room. Silence pooled like water in a grave. You shouldn't be here. The voice came from behind, clean and close. I turned slowly. Dr. Raymond Sutter stood in the archway. He wore a black overcoat despite the warmth of the room. Rain stippled his shoulders. Doc, I said, you signed a piece of paper that makes me a ghost. He studied me with a clinician's patience. You're not a ghost. No, I said, but someone is. He closed the door behind him and stepped into the aisle. Who is he? My voice wavered. I steadied it with anger. Who did you bury in my suit? Sutter glanced toward the coffin. A man who made a bargain. With whom? With the machine we all end up serving, he said softly. With the town. With family. I want a name. He considered me for a long time. His name was Aaron Pike. I don't know him. That's why he was perfect. I took a step closer. Why did you do it? Sutter's lashes wet with rain. Because your father asked me to keep you alive long enough to make a choice. My father's dead. We both know death is the least interesting part of any story. He tilted his head. Your father owed men more dangerous than grief. He thought he could bargain you out of their reach. Who are they? People who prefer stories to facts, he said, and people like me who leave all the wrong signatures on all the right forms. I met a man who looks like me. Sutter's eyes didn't change. Yes. Why? Because he could go where you couldn't, Sutter said. He could be seen when you needed to disappear. He could take a bullet, a charge, a scandal. He could be the you that bleeds in the papers, so the you that breathes can walk away. I didn't agree to this. Sutter's mouth twitched. Consent is a slippery word when the people you love are on fire. The photograph burned against my chest. Why the picture? I asked. Why bury him with a photo of me, taken 2 weeks after I died? Sutter looked at the stained glass windows. Because someone wanted you to come back. Who? He took a long breath. The one who has always wanted you to keep digging. Before I could answer, He raised one hand. "You should leave now." "I'm not finished." "You are, if you want to stay alive." He glanced past my shoulder, and I saw fear graze a man who thought himself immune. "They're here." I listened, the soft sound of a door opening, a hush of umbrellas. I stepped back toward the side aisle. Sutter moved the opposite way. "They'll ask me if I saw you," he said. "I will say no. Do not make me a liar twice in 1 week." "Doc, if I walk out of here, where do I go?" "Not home." "Then where?" He almost smiled. "Burn the tape." "I won't." "Then at least don't listen to it alone again." He squeezed the bridge of his nose. "And Ethan, stop reading the story like a reporter. Read it like the man it's happening to." Footsteps approached the nave. Sutter gave me one last look and slipped through the vestry door. I moved along the side pews, keeping low. The main doors opened. 2 men entered, dark suits, rain-beaded shoulders, the kind of faces you forget the moment you look away. I backed behind a column. When my hand found the handle of the side door, it was slick with rain or sweat. I stepped into the grey afternoon and didn't run until I was off the church grounds. I drove to Anna's. I didn't call. I didn't plan. I parked 2 houses down. The porch light was on. Her car was in the drive. I walked to the door, then past it. The side gate squealed. I stood in the wet yard and looked through the kitchen window. Anna sat at the table with a glass of water clasped in both hands. She looked like a person trying not to drown in a room where nothing was wet. On the counter lay a letter in my handwriting. The back door creaked when I opened it. She didn't startle. She looked up, and for a long time we just stood inside a quiet that had our shapes cut into it. "Ethan," she said, and I felt the syllables travel through her body to mine. I sat, my legs were wood. "You were at the funeral," she said. "You told the pastor I didn't deserve the truth." She flinched and put her hand over her mouth. She breathed. "I didn't mean it. I meant..." "You meant it would break me." She nodded. A bead of water not made by rain slipped from her eye. "Who was in the car?" I asked. "A man who saved your life," she said, "and made mine worse. Aaron Pike." She closed her eyes. "You know." "I know the name. I don't know the debt." She opened a drawer and took out a small black phone I'd never seen. She set it on the table. "They called me on this, the day after you left." "After I left?" Her eyes flicked to mine. "After you decided to disappear. You remember deciding that, don't you?" Heat surged under my skin. "I decided to leave because men with clean fingernails and dirty souls wanted me to stop asking questions." "Exactly," she whispered. "And then they offered us a way out, a way to make you safe. The double." Her mouth made a shape that was yes and no at once. "They said it would be for a week, just enough time to cool the heat. Then they told me the car had burned. Then there was a body. Then there was a funeral. What did you give them, Anna?" She looked past me. "A ring, a photograph, an answer I'll hate myself for forever." I set the photograph on the table. The edges had bent where my hand had tried to crush them. She looked at it and went very still. "When was this taken?" I asked. She raised a shaking finger to the timestamp. 11:06/9/17, 2 weeks after I died, I said. She shook her head violently. "After they said you died, Ethan, I took this." The room fell silent. "You took this." She nodded. "You called me from the footbridge. You said, 'No phones, just come.' I went. You were wearing this suit and smiling like you'd just lied to a god and gotten away with it. You told me everything was going to be okay. You told me to go home and burn the letter. And then you vanished." "What did I say?" "Exactly." She closed her eyes. "You said, 'If anyone asks, I never asked you to choose.' You said, 'Tell Liam I forgive him.' And you said," her voice broke, "you said, 'Don't come to my funeral.'" I couldn't feel the chair beneath me. "Anna, it wasn't me." "I know," she whispered. But it was your face, your voice, your scar. We sat with that until our ghosts got bored and left. Then I said, "They perfected him." She nodded. "They perfected him with you watching. Did you tell anyone about this, the photo?" "I showed it to the pastor," she said. "He told me grief makes photographs lie." The front doorknob jiggled. We froze, keys scraped. The door swung open. "Anna," a voice called, "you left your porch light on." Liam stepped into the kitchen and stopped when he saw me. His face went through 3 seasons of weather in 1 second. "Jesus," he said. "You're not, I mean, are you?" "I'm alive," I said, "for now." He looked at Anna. She gave him a look that meant not now. He closed his mouth around words that would have broken us. "What did you do?" I asked him softly. He flinched. "What I was told." "By who?" "By the people who said they could keep you safe if I shut up and smiled." "And what did they ask you to do?" "Help identify the body." His voice shrank. "I told them I couldn't. They showed me your wallet, your ring. They told me to think about Mom and what she'd want." "The best part's that don't ask questions," I said. He put his hand over his eyes. "I'm sorry." The clock on the wall clicked over to 9:17. We all looked. None of us said anything. "Come with me," I told them. "Both of you." "To the chapel?" Anna said, terror rising. "To the end of this chapter," I said, "or the beginning of the next." The sky had bled out and left a bruise behind the steeple. The chapel doors were locked. The side door was not. Inside, the light was sparse and top-heavy. We moved with the kind of quiet you bring to a crib or a crime scene. At the front, the coffin waited with the patience of furniture. I took the key I'd stolen from the vestry and unlocked the lid. The hinges sighed open. Anna looked at the floor. Liam looked into the box and back out like a swimmer coming up choking. I reached under the lapel where the photograph had been. Empty. But something else was tucked beneath the folded hands, a slip of paper. I slid it free and unfolded it. 4 words written in an unmistakable hand. "You took the bait." I heard the door click shut behind us. Anna's head snapped up. Liam stumbled back. Footsteps, deliberate, unhurried, came down the aisle. The air pressure changed. I turned. He stood there, my double, hands in his coat pockets, rain in his hair, eyes bright with something that isn't quite cruelty and isn't quite mercy. Behind him, 2 men in suits sealed the doors. The smiling one wasn't smiling now. "You weren't supposed to come back, Ethan," the double said, "but I'm glad you did." I held up the note. "This your handwriting?" He glanced at it. "No." "Whose then?" He looked at Anna. "Someone who believes you can still be saved." Anna took a step. The smiling man said, "Don't." "Saved from what?" I asked. "From the truth," the double said. "I'm tired of riddles." "I know," he said. "That's why I brought you a plain one." He moved past me to the coffin and lifted the lid the rest of the way. He gestured toward the jaw. "Look," he said. I did, along the line of the neck just beneath the ear. A faint square of adhesive shadowed the skin, the kind transdermal patches leave. "What is it?" I asked. The double watched me. "Insurance." "For who?" "For everyone who thinks a person is a story you can edit." I reached in and peeled the edge. Beneath it, a number bloomed black against white. The first 4 digits matched my birth year. Liam made a sound in his throat. Anna's hand found my sleeve and clenched. The smiling man cleared his throat. "That's enough." The double cocked his head. "Is it?" The smiling man's eyes flicked to Anna. "We're here for a simple reason, to complete the narrative so no one gets hurt. Mr. Cole, you can leave with your wife now. We'll take care of the rest." "What about my brother?" I asked. "He'll learn to keep his mouth closed," the man said. "He's good at it. And if I don't leave, we will close the lid and call the morning what it will be, an opportunity for closure." I felt the photograph in my coat burning like a relic. I looked at the double. He nodded once, not in agreement, in recognition. "Tell me one thing," I said to him. "When you met Anna at the bridge, what did you ask her?" He didn't hesitate. I asked her to tell you that I forgive you. For what? For surviving. His voice wavered. For making me necessary. The room swayed. Ethan, Anna whispered, please. The double stepped back. Your choice, he said. It always was. That's what they hate about you. I looked at the men at the door. I looked at the man in the box. I looked at my wife, my brother, and the story that had eaten our lives. Close it, I said. The smiling man nodded. The lid came down. I turned to Anna and Liam. Go home. Now, pack a bag. Warm clothes, cash. Don't use your phones. Don't go to places you love. They'll be waiting there. Anna shook her head. I won't leave you. You won't, I said. You'll be where I tell you to be, when I tell you to be there. Anna kissed my cheek. Don't be brave, she whispered. Be smart. I don't know how, I said. They left. The double waited until the latch clicked. You think you can outrun them? He asked. No, I said. I think I can make them trip. I moved to the coffin and slid my hand under the lid until my fingers found the seam. The smiling man sighed. Mr. Cole, please. I lifted the lid a few inches and reached inside, not for the face, for the pocket. My fingers found paper, thin, slick. I took it and dropped the lid. I unfolded the paper. It was a glossy print, the same photograph, but this one had a margin with a lab stamp, Redfield Clinical Imaging, subject EC, ref 7-17. My heart stuttered, 717, the number that had chased me for weeks. What does it mean? I asked. The smiling man lost patience. It means you are done reading. He nodded at his partner. The partner moved toward me, the double stepped between us. Not yet, he said. The man hesitated. The smiling one didn't. Move, he said. The double didn't. He lifted a hand. The partner reached for the double. The double moved. Quick, soft, efficient. In one motion, he put the partner on the floor. The smiling man took a step back, recalculating. The side door opened. Dr. Sutter stood there out of breath, face pale. Stop, he said, all of you. The smiling man recovered his smile. Doctor, we were just committing a felony, Sutter said. Again? He turned to me. You want your answer? 717 is a dosage code, a protocol. Your father put you in a study when you were a boy, after the fall at the bridge. He thought it would help with the seizures. He didn't know what else they were testing. My mouth went dry. What were they testing? Sutter swallowed. Identity transfer, behavioral mapping, the ability to make a person into a story you can sell. The smiling man sighed. Doctor, you're tired. Come with us. I'm done being safe, Sutter said. He looked at me. Your father asked me to keep you alive long enough to choose who you were. He held out his hand. In it, a small brass key on a church tag. The lockbox at the bank, he said. Your father's. He told me to give this to you if you ever found the tape. What's inside? I don't know, he said. That's the last honest thing I have left. The smiling man moved. The double moved faster. Sutter went down with a sound like paper torn from a book. I caught him before he hit the stone. He was bleeding. Go, he whispered. He pushed the key into my palm. Bank, tomorrow. Don't wait. Sutter, tell yourself the truth even when they won't. His eyes unfocused. The smiling man straightened his cuff. The double looked at me. Choose. I looked at the key. I looked at the coffin. I looked at the men who wrote endings. And then I ran. Night tore on either side as I drove. I didn't think. I let the car find the road to the river. I parked by the footbridge and walked out to the middle. I pulled the photograph from my coat and held it up to the thin moonlight. Me in the suit, the timestamp, the lab stamp, the reference code. Not a haunting. A plan. I was about to tear it when headlights washed the bridge in white. A car idled. A door opened and shut. Footsteps clicked on wood. I didn't turn until the steps stopped. When I did, I was looking at my face in the night again. "We're running out of time," the double said. "For what?" "For you to decide if you're going to be the man in the coffin or the man at the door." "What's at the bank?" I asked. "Proof you don't want," he said, "and a name you do." "What name?" He smiled sadly. "The one behind all the others." Wind combed the trees. "Why help me?" I asked. He looked at the river. "Because I was you once," he said quietly, "and nobody helped me." Silence settled between us like dust in church sunlight. I folded the photograph and slipped it into my pocket. My hand closed on the key until the teeth hurt. When I looked up, the double was studying me. "Don't go back to the chapel," he said. "I won't. Don't go home. I already told them not to." "Good." He nodded toward the woods. "Then there's one thing left." "What?" He stepped closer, close enough that I could see a jitter at the corner of his eye, a human flaw the lab hadn't sanded away. "Go see the man in your coffin." "I already did." "No," he said. "Go see him for real." "What does that mean?" He glanced at the tree line. Fear stood up inside a man wearing my face. They moved him. Where? To the place where stories go when they're not ready to die. Before I could answer, a twig snapped in the dark. The double's head jerked toward it. He put his hand on my shoulder in a grip that communicated more than words. "Bank. Morning. And Ethan." "What?" "Don't open the box alone." He vanished into the trees like a rumor no one can prove. I stood on the bridge until the moon forgot to be brave. When I finally walked into the chapel again, it was not to look for the living. It was to make sure the dead stayed still. The side door gave under my hand like it had been waiting. I moved down the aisle with a kind of reverence I'd never given a church. The coffin stood under the window like a clever lie. I unlocked the lid. Empty. Not quite empty. Lilies, satin, the shape a body leaves in fabric like a question waiting for a name. But the man who had been and not been me was gone. I leaned my hands on the coffin and let the room tilt. Then I saw it. Tucked into the seam where the satin met the wood, a piece of paper no larger than a matchbook. I slid it free, a photograph, not of me, of the back pew, of a hooded figure sitting with his hands clenched, head bowed. On the back, in neat block letters, "You weren't supposed to come back, Ethan." I turned it over. Along the bottom edge, a lab stamp I had not seen before. Archive. Subject D. Cole. Ref 717B. D. Cole. Not E. I turned so fast my neck cracked. The chapel was empty. I held the photograph until the edges cut me and blood beaded like punctuation. My phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. "Look behind you." I didn't. I walked to the door. I didn't run. The key in my pocket felt like a small animal trying to get out. As I reached the threshold, a voice from the dark behind the altar said very softly, "You weren't supposed to come back, Ethan." I stopped breathing. The voice wasn't the double's. It wasn't the smiling man's. It wasn't Sutter's. It was my father's. The last thing I saw before the doors swung shut was the faint glow of a red timestamp on the altar rail, as if some unseen camera had captured the exact second my life broke again. 11/7, 3:17 a.m. The hour my mother used to wake screaming from dreams she couldn't remember. The hour our house had burned a decade ago. The hour when the town learned that some truths don't die. They wait. Rain began again, soft as hands, as I stepped into the night. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The voice followed me into the dark. "You weren't supposed to come back, Ethan." I walked faster. The key cut my palm. The photograph burned a hole in my pocket. Tomorrow the bank. Tomorrow the box. Tomorrow the name behind all the others. Tonight the truth humming under the city like wires. A story is not what happens. It's what you do when it happens. And I was done being written.